Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their sun in Taurus and their moon in Aries. So we're talking about a combination of earth and fire. And earth and fire are an odd combination, I would say. Even water and fire have a bit more in common than earth and fire, in the sense that water and fire are both emotional in their own way. Earth energy is very practical, it's grounded, it's stable. Fire is unstable. If you think of a fire that wildly, kind of, expands, there's that sense of expansion with fire that makes fire signs very far-reaching, or far-seeing and broad-minded and things like that, and ambitious. And the earth is something that we rely on, that we look to provide structure in our life. So in a way, even though the temperament of these two types of elements coming together are wildly different, I think that the combination can actually be good in certain ways. And an example of this is that there is a lot of persistence with Taurus, the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a fixed sign, it's an earth sign, so it is concerned with material matters. So that can make for a person who keeps going, even if they encounter obstacles, so on and so forth, they will persist at their goals. Aries is ambitious, and it's a cardinal sign, so it's take charge, it is initiating things, and so that's a really good combination, because you have persistence and reliability with somebody who is a catalyst for change and action in general. And so what this does is make the Taurus person more animated than they usually would be, because I don't want to say that Taurus is a boring sign per se, but it isn't really that expressive on its own. I always call Taurus a meat and potato sign because it's a very basic sign. It's the first earth sign. So it just like, Aries is the first fire sign. So what they share is a very open, innocent, kind of uncomplicated nature. But Taurus is very chill. It's ruled by Venus, which is very languid and just loving luxury and just lounging around. And Aries is more of, the god of war. So it's very active. There's a physicality to Aries. And it kind of animates that Taurus, that could be the couch potato, and makes this person more energetic. Even though Taurus can have amazing stamina, really, but in terms of how it presents itself in their basic personality, that might not show that much. And I mean, it's important to note that a Taurus person can make you feel very comfortable to be around them, because they're not going to be usually very loud, and a fire sign sometimes can be so energetic that they kind of irritate, or it's like being close to a live wire. It's not, necessarily very calming. Let's put it that way. That extroverted energy. So this might be a nice balance, and this gives them more outward enthusiasm and playfulness, And Taurus is a sign that is not overly serious, even though it's an earth sign. If you think of Capricorn, for instance, which is ruled by Saturn, Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is a benefic. So it's much more comfortable with enjoying the finer things in life and not self-denying like Capricorn can be. Virgo is kind of in the middle between those two earth signs. Maybe studious and, concerned with being productive. And Taurus is like sensual. So there's a common I think there's a connection between Taurus and Aries in that sense of being sensual. And this will make the Taurus person more assertive to have a moon in Aries. It's kind of like lighting a fire under the Taurus person. A Taurus person is very patient. The problem with patience is that sometimes it's like tolerating bad behavior. If somebody is, you're waiting for somebody to kind of change their ways or to realize something that you want them to realize, it can be a long wait sometimes. So sometimes you just have to take action. And you can't wait, because that can give you that sense of lack of momentum or even feeling a lack of control in your life if you're waiting for somebody else to do something. So this is going to make the Taurus person maybe a little bit less patient, but not in a bad way, and to be more assertive and all that. But this could also be, the Taurus person can possess diplomacy, and Aries, whether sun or moon, can sometimes be rough around the edges. There's a bluntness to Aries as a whole, and a kind of an abrupt nature sometimes because of that impatience. And this will kind of even out that a little bit with the Taurus. Compared to if the sun is in Leo, when I do the Leo sun, you're going to see somebody where it might be a little bit different, even though Leo's also a fixed sign like Taurus, but it's a fire sign. So that will give more of that masculine, just overbearing qualities sometimes. And this is like a nice combination. Now, one of the things that, and also this can lead to being persistent at one's goals. I think I covered that because Aries is very ambitious and Taurus is very persistent. So that can be good, as I think I stated. Now, here is where it can get a little tricky. Taurus is a fixed sign. It can be stubborn. Aries is pretty, I know it's kind of interesting because Aries sometimes comes across as rough around the edges, but there's a generosity with Aries and a progressive attitude. I would say that Taurus as a whole is more conservative. There's more of a narrowness of Taurus than there is with Aries because fire is expansive. And so for instance, if you have a Taurus parent and an Aries parent, the Taurus parent may be more, it's hard to say. I was going to say it may be more conservative and strict, but Taurus, out of all the earth signs, it's not necessarily a complete strict nature. Taurus can, be persuaded to, you can get on their good side for sure. But because Taurus is a feminine sign and a fixed sign, there may be like deeply ingrained beliefs that are on the more conservative side that if they were raising children, they would stick to those things. So if their parents did a certain type of thing in raising them. They may think that that is what they need to do with their children and not really be open to new ideas. Aries is open to new ideas. It doesn't mean that Aries is necessarily that cooperative. If somebody else is trying to get Aries to do something, that may not be when Aries acts, because Aries wants to appear to be in control of the situation. But if they come across information, they may adopt it because they are open to new ideas a lot more than Taurus. You know, there's a progressive quality to fire signs. And so this may produce a more progressive type of person than the Taurus person might typically be. And this can run the gamut in the person's life of how this shows up. Oh, and by the way, this can indicate somebody who is generous financially. But this gets me to another thing that this combination can bring: self-centeredness and being self-serving. And you know, I was getting some of my information from a site called i.thehoroscope.co. But I wrote this myself because this is something that I think I had read a lot earlier. I used to have a book on sun-moon combinations. I used to read it over and over and over again. And I think for this combination, they said me, myself, and I. Now, I think part of the reason for this is because these are two of the first signs, and the first signs are going to be connected to infancy and being a child. And if you think about children, young children, they tend to be very egocentric. And they're focused on getting their needs met above all else. And it's like nothing else exists except their needs. And so this can show up for people who are Taurians and Aries people, where they can be, and you know, Aries is known as being self-centered because it is the ruler of the first house of the self. So, you know, that just is how it rolls, is like focusing on the self. All fire signs will have a bit of this quality because the fire element is about the self versus other things. Taurus is a materialistic sign. I think part of that is just being an earth sign, but the other part is because Taurus is ruled by Venus, satisfying pleasure becomes a major goal in the Taurus person's life. And in order to do that, that involves getting one's needs met in this area. So whether it is doing things that particularly benefit the Taurus person, and if it doesn't benefit them, they might not be as interested in doing it. And just in general, I think this is more with imbalanced Taurus people, that they can be so pleasure-seeking. I think that's what I'm getting at, is when you're pleasure-seeking and that's a major goal in your life, then sometimes it means that you need to use people to attain that goal. So whether it's in a relationship or a dating situation, if you are mainly looking for sex and the other person is looking for companionship, you may be, this combination might be very, single-minded about what it is that they're looking for. They're both very sensual signs. And so that can show up in relationships in a very kind of like self-centered way. And just materialism, same thing. Materialism is sometimes, we can talk about greed, and then, how does that play out in real life? Does it indicate that sometimes people try to shortchange another person for their own gratification, whether it be, how much they pay, how much they're, Taurus, if I had to say, I'd say the Aries is the generous one out of the two. Taurus might want to spend money on themselves. They might want to spend money on a potential partner because they're looking for something in return. So that's one of the things. It's really hard to articulate because it's, when I say self-serving, it's like, how some people, they do things to benefit themselves. Everything that they do has the ulterior motive of it's there to benefit themselves. It's not altruistic. It's not, hey, I'm just doing this because I really want to help somebody else. And so this, to me, can be a form of spiritual immaturity. It doesn't mean that the person isn't capable of growth or, like changing this behavior. And I always, with all of these combinations, I'm going to start with some of the positive and then talk about some of the challenging. Doesn't mean that everybody who has this combination is going to do these things. But if that nature is too materialistic and sensual, and really materialism is sensuality, really. What can happen, for instance, in relationships is that you might have somebody who gets involved with somebody because they know that that person makes a lot of money, or a person who gets involved with somebody that they're turned on to physically, but they don't necessarily care about emotionally. And if that other person knew that, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but sometimes it's not this mutually agreed upon vantage point of the relationship. So one person is thinking one thing and one person is thinking the other. This is going to make the Taurus person a lot less cautious. I put down here cautious basic nature because they mentioned that. But, you can't say that when you have a moon in Aries. The moon is our emotional nature. In Aries, it's very quick. It's very reactive. And so that will destabilize some of that Taurus sun, where the person isn't as cautious, and that can lead to doing things in a time of heightened emotions that they later regret. The person can be possessive and jealous in love, and too demanding of their partner, and this kind of thing can lead to a lot of drama in relationships if the person is not careful. Now, the moon in Aries may think that this is awesome because the moon in Aries really is not looking for, kind of that peaceful, emotional connection. They may be they're looking for passion in relationships, but sometimes they may confuse drama with passion. And if the relationship is too harmonious, I don't know why we would say too harmonious, but to a moon and Aries person, that might be the case, then they may stir up some stuff and try to start a fight in some way, kind of be a little bit trollish to try to get that other person riled up, and they feel like that adds spice to the relationship. Well, that can definitely create problems. And if the person's sun is in Taurus, they may not always show this side of themselves, and the other person may get fooled. And they may think, well, maybe I was just overreacting, even though this may be something that the Taurus Sun, Aries Moon person does periodically. Maybe not all the time, but when they are feeling a bit bored, for instance, and they want to kind of get the party started. So, there might be a few things to look out for, but there are also things that can make this combination. It can help the Aries Moon, and it can also help the Taurus Sun. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a personal reading with me, you can click on the link below to see what kind of readings I offer. I have a couple of specials that are combination readings, and they are extended readings. They're 2 readings for a special price. So just click on the link below. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.